Gold, for men all over the world, a magic, supernatural substance. It is incorruptible, it neither rusts nor tarnishes, and so it symbolizes perfection and immortality, and men have robbed, pillaged, and murdered in order to possess it. No one has used it more lavishly or with greater splendor than the people of ancient America. There it was sacred, and so abundant that they called it the sweat of the sun. To the Spaniards who conquered the empires of the Aztecs and the Incas, it was a perpetual lure, and for centuries they pursued the legend of El Dorado, the fabulous golden man. The descendants of the people who made such glorious things still survive, but they no longer wear golden jewels on their cloaks or worship golden statues in their temples. The Spaniards destroyed their civilization centuries ago and reduced them to slaves. They have never recovered. But they can still tell us much about the way that their ancestors lived and how they worked the precious metal that was the cause of their downfall. The first great civilization that the Spaniards met in the New World was that of the Aztecs in Mexico. The treasure of Montezuma. Gifts presented by Montezuma, Emperor of the Aztecs, to Cortez, the Spanish invader, when he entered Mexico. Turquoise mosaic inlaid with shell, parites, and garnet. The skulls are images of the terrifying Aztec gods. And this knife, with its chalcedony blade and handled in the shape of a crouching Aztec warrior, was doubtless used in the human sacrifices, when the hearts of men were cut from their chests and lifted, still beating, as offerings to the sun. When these objects were first exhibited in Europe, they caused a sensation. 400 years ago, Albrecht Dürer, the greatest German painter of his time, saw them on exhibition in Brussels and was astounded by their beauty. In all the days of my life, he wrote, I have seen nothing that has so rejoiced my heart as these things, for I saw among them strange and exquisitely worked objects and marveled at the subtle genius of the men in distant lands. But the conquistadors were not impressed by turquoise. Their passion was gold. The gold objects sent back to Europe by Cortez and his men were, almost without exception, melted down for bullion. It was the beginning of an act of sustained vandalism that was to continue for several hundred years as the New World was ransacked for its treasure. Even during the 19th century, the Bank of England was melting down each year several thousand pounds in weight of statuettes and exquisitely worked jewelry, turning them into ingots. The Aztecs, however, prized a few things even more highly than gold, particularly the iridescent feathers of the quetzal bird. This magnificent headdress was probably worn by Montezuma himself. The craftsmen who made it also made ceremonial shields and banners, often using gold merely to outline the design and set off the brilliant colors of the feathers. Contemporary manuscripts give some idea of how the goldsmiths smelted their ore, washed the castings in special solutions, and gave them a high polish. The people of Mexico forgot these techniques long ago, but some of the other activities of the Aztecs, so charmingly portrayed here, still survive. This strange ritual was ancient when the Aztec chroniclers illustrated it. It is an act of worship. The man in the center, they say, represents the sun, and the four swinging round him the seasons of the year. Each circles the pole 13 times before reaching the ground, and the total of 52 turns symbolizes the passage of the years in the Aztec calendar. Aztec towns were dominated by their temples. This, one of the smallest, is one of the few surviving which, although much restored, gives an accurate idea of what they were like. Today, village children play over them, barely conscious of their original purpose, for these were places of horror. On such altars, the Aztecs made human sacrifices to the many gods that ruled their lives. Hungry, pitiless gods like Xiuhtecuhtli, the god of fire, for whom people were roasted alive before their hearts were cut from them. But the sun god ruled all. If he were not regularly fed with human blood and beating hearts, he might set and never reappear the following day. So fearful were the Aztecs of such a catastrophe that as many as 50,000 victims were given to the god each year. One of the conquistadors has left a description of those sacrifices.
They strike open the wretched Indian's chest with flint knives and hastily tear out the palpitating heart, which, with the blood, they present to the idols in whose name they have performed the sacrifice. Then they cut off the arms, thighs, and head, eating the arms and thighs at their ceremonial banquets. The head they hang up on a beam, and the body of the sacrificed man is not eaten, but given to the beasts of prey.
The greatest temples stood in the capital, Tenochtitlan. It was built on an island in a lake, and the conquistador marveled at its splendor, for it was as big as any city in Europe. Yet they destroyed it utterly and built Mexico City in its place. Of the surrounding lake, all that remains are a few placid lagoons. Among them stand small islets, originally made by the Aztecs, who cut canals through the swamps and piled up the debris between the waterways to form artificial islands. Here the Aztecs grew vegetables and flowers, just as the Mexicans do today. And in the canals around them, the people of Mexico City, as their ancestors did, come to relax.